There's a lot of people out there trying to follow a formula, but it doesn't seem like for some people this formula doesn't work. And it's this missing magnetic piece. What is that? Can you define that for us, Melanie?
Maybe I'll best be able to demonstrate this through my own struggles with messaging. I think the first part of being magnetic has to do with your message, and you're brilliant at messaging. I think this is one of your superpowers, the way that you message what you do, the way that you tap into what people need. But for me, this coach who was trained to help people get out of their own way, I struggled with messaging for so long. So I always name things wrong. I thought if I explain what I do, then people would get it. I had a mentor along the way who said, Melanie, nobody is going to hire your process. They're hiring a result.
Welcome to the Millionaire Maker Show, a podcast helping online coaches monetize their life's work and scale their businesses to create more time, more money, more freedom, and more impact. Now, with over 20 years of business building, coaching, and consulting experience, here's your host, author, speaker, and creator of the Millionaire Maker Coaching Funnel, Lindsey Anderson.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. I am your host, Lindsey Anderson, and today I'm coming hot at you with a very, very important topic. As you go into scale your online business, as you go into looking how to make more sales, find more of those right eyeballs for you to be in front of so that they will actually buy from you. And the topic today is visibility. And I have a very special guest, a guest that I have known since the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. She's an authority and visibility coach, a very successful online coach, been in the industry for over 20 years. And I'm excited to bring her on as we talk about visibility and how can we get that all important visibility and authority so that people immediately recognize what we do, how we can help them and send referrals and send clients and really help us build our business. You don't want to miss this episode. Before I hop into that, I want to make sure that you're signed up for my upcoming masterclass called the Social Media Sales Machine. Now, if you're struggling on social media, you've tried all the things, trying to make it work, you get up and post every day and you're frustrated, or maybe you have a really big social media following, but no customers. If this sounds like anything you are dealing with, you really need to come to the Social Media Sales Machine workshop. This is a live workshop that I will be giving, and it will detail for you my super simple 3-step strategy in creating an social media audience of buyers, people who will actually buy from you. Not only are we going to be creating that audience, but I'll also show you how to get that audience to actually buy from you. Now, all you need to do is head over to contentthatconverts.me/machine, and you will get access to this very powerful masterclass. This is the same system that I use and hundreds of my clients have used to generate millions of dollars worth of sales, worth of services in their online business. Run, don't walk, contentthatconverts.me/machine. Get signed up for that masterclass. Plan on joining me there live. This masterclass is best consumed live. Now, let's talk a little bit about visibility. I was on Netflix recently, and so the notoriety and authority that being on Netflix actually gave me was very, very eye-opening and allowed me to have a really interesting take on being an authority or an influencer online, as well as being a business owner online. And there's a really big difference there. As we talk about being visible, certainly when I was on Netflix, I was very, very visible to millions and millions of people all over the world. But that visibility only had a certain percentage of those individuals were actually going to be customers or buyers of mine. And so why is that important? It's important as you go in to get visibility and to build authority that you're doing that with the right people. Now, I've talked to many of my co-stars there that were on the Trust on Netflix, and most of them are influencers. And they certainly do struggle with really, how do I monetize such a big audience? They have huge audiences of people that really like to listen into them, but how do I actually turn that into money so I'm not just on social media entertaining for free. And that's really where the difference is between posting like an influencer and posting like a business owner comes in. So it's a very important piece of the visibility topic. Visibility without a plan is certainly not going to solve any of your business problems. You need to use visibility in the right way. You need to have a plan and a strategy in order to actually get them from your social media and into your programs profitably. Okay. Profitably. Like running a $15 membership is not going to allow you to really monetize anything profitably. You have to be able to have higher level, higher ticket dollar amount items so that you can actually be producing content and looking at your bank account and telling yourself, good job, as you pat yourself on the back. So, very important and a very unique perspective that I have now being on Netflix and also being online in the social media game for the last 20 years. There's a big difference, and it's important for you to know. So, let's hop into what is visibility? How do we create visibility? Why is it so important? And how does visibility and authority actually help us generate more sales online? I have a very special guest, somebody that I have known for several years. She was one of the first mindset people I met at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey over a decade ago. Her name is Melanie Benson, and you're going to want to be in on this episode because Melanie is an authority amplifier and she really helps people gain more visibility in the marketplace and all of the wonderful benefits that can come from that. And that is her real expertise. She has a proven track record of accelerating results for her clients. And today we are lucky to have her here on the Millionaire Maker Show. Welcome to the show, Melanie. So glad that you're here.
Thanks, Lindsay. I'm excited about this conversation. You and I always have the best conversations behind the scenes. Can't imagine what's going to happen here.
I know. I can't wait either. So, do you mind before we hop into what is visibility and those kind
Mhm.
of things? Tell me, was there a time in your life that you were like, yes, this is actually what I want to do? This is my expertise. This is what I want to be doing. Was there like a pivotal point that you wouldn't mind sharing with us?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in business for 23 years, almost 24. And what I started with early on has zero to do with visibility. I believe that visibility is when you are where your ideal clients are searching for solutions. And today, visibility has a lot more reach. There's a lot more opportunities. We can do a podcast, a virtual show like this. You can host your own podcast. Visibility can look like reels. It can look like anything that you do that A, educates your market and B, creates like this compelling energy to want more from you. And it's really powerful when that visibility can be hosted or facilitated by someone else who's influential in your market. We might want to unpack that more later, but there's studies show that when you are invited to share your message on other people's stages, that borrowed influence can really accelerate what you do. And so you asked me, like, was there a pivotal moment when I was like, okay, I'm supposed to teach this? For like the first decade plus of my career, I taught people about mindset. I taught about productivity. I taught leverage strategies. I was teaching people how to get out of their limitations in their head and actually become extraordinarily successful in their business, achieving multiple six and seven figures. And there became a point that I think I don't wanna say bored, but that conversation wasn't lighting my soul on fire anymore, and I felt like there's something else I'm meant to do, and B, fell backwards into this as a, subject matter expert because every time I reinvented my business, I had to do the same process that I teach, my authority trifecta process. And I had to get my visibility stirred up and accelerated and buzz and momentum built around my work. And I was literally doing the same process over and over again. I did it in 2002. I did it in 2009. I did it again a few years ago as I really leaned more into $1 million authority. And yeah, that's when I was like, I think I'm supposed to actually
This is
be
what you're
teaching
supposed to be doing.
this.
So, million
Yeah.
dollar authority, so people need $1 million authority in order to sell high ticket programs, to sell even
Mhm.
more, to have all of that good feeling stuff that's handed off when people say, "Hey, I know Lindsay or I know Melanie," and that trust gets passed through to you. So, what's the difference
Mhm.
between visibility and just like showing up on social media? Is there like a
Mm.
difference to you?
No, let me just say the kind of visibility strategies I teach allow somebody to go from best kept secret to in demand authority. And I see a lot of very talented experts who have so much value they can be giving their clients get passed over or feel invisible when they are just like doing a video or they're putting a social media post. They're like, Melanie, why am I getting crickets? I'm doing all the things I learned from all the experts. Why is it that my best clients are saying, hey, that sounds nice, but then turning around and hiring my competitor who I know is not as good at this as I am. I have more experience and more talent and more demonstrated results. What's missing? And that's where I call it authentic authority, your ability to demonstrate in a way that your ideal clients can respond to because it's relevant, it's magnetic, it's compelling, and it's value driven so that all of the noise in your industry kind of melts away. And I like to think of it like the waters part, and what's left is you. They go, oh, that's the person for me. And you can do that through your social media. That's one way that you can do it. But my favorite is through the microphone because you can, it's literally so hard to be inauthentic when you are being interviewed by somebody who's going to ask you who knows what and you are going to be bringing your real self to that conversation, and people will respond to that.
I love that. I love that. So you bring up this thing that makes you compelling. And there's a lot of people out there trying to follow a formula, but it doesn't seem like for some people this formula doesn't work. And it's this missing magnetic piece. What is that? Can you define that for us, Melanie?
Maybe I'll best be able to demonstrate this through my own struggles with messaging. I think the first part of being magnetic has to do with your message, and you're brilliant at messaging. I think this is one of your superpowers, the way that you message what you do, the way that you tap into what people need. But for me, this coach who was trained to help people get out of their own way, I struggled with messaging for so long. So I always name things wrong. I thought if I explain what I do, then people would get it. I had a mentor along the way who said, Melanie, nobody is going to hire your process. They're hiring a result. And so my big awakening, as a matter of fact, I probably have it somewhere, the CD set where my first marketing mentor taught me how to create messages that move people into action. And what I think is a magnetic quality that so many people struggle with is learning how to create a bridge that makes somebody wanna run to your side of the bridge because you created a message that they're like, "Oh my god, that is me." Here's a great example. I used to talk about how you can be more productive, right? Okay, do you want that? Do you wanna be more productive? Or do you wanna be able to 10x your sales in the next 30 days? And so distinctions in messaging have a massive energetic pull to the person who is looking for a solution. And if you build that relevant, and this is something that you drilled into my head so many times, specific way of saying something that people can lean into and go, that's so exciting. That's energizing me. That's amplifying my excitement right now. That's what kind of helps you stand out when there's a lot of people who sound a lot like you online.
It's true. That messaging is so important. I always like to share the story of my first marketing seminar 20 years ago was called How to Market on a Shoestring Budget. So you can only imagine the energy of the people showing up, right? They were expensive. They wanted a deal. Tell me how to do it for free. And so certainly messaging is really important when it comes to building your authority. Can you speak to like how you are showing up? If you're confident in your own stuff and like you shining through, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I love this question, Lindsay. So I have a client right now who's in my program. It's called 100K Authority Accelerator. And one of the things she struggled with is what do I call myself? How do I like talk about what I do? I can do what I do, but I don't know how to communicate what I do. So I worked with her on really positioning what it is that she called herself. And she's, I'm a business coach. I'm like, boring. There's a
Mhm.
bazillion business coaches. Everybody's a
Mhm.
business coach. Okay. I help people go from 6 to 7 figures. Awesome. So do 10,000 other business coaches. And as we dug into it, that positioning that she does help people go from 6, 7 figures, but she specializes in transforming CEOs stuck at 6 figures to become $1 million CEOs. And just that shift in
Mhm.
perspective lit a fire in her. Like, she had been dragging her feet. She was having a hard time getting content out. She, like, was just uninspired by trying to get any kind of podcast, guest bookings or do her newsletter, anything. And that one shift in clarity fired her up so much that she started being consistent with her content strategy. And before she even went into my visibility sprint, she was already getting booked on shows simply by having a consistent magnetic message that people were experiencing in her social media community.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. That's a good example. That's a really good example. Okay, you mentioned you have a trifecta, your process. Can you share with
Yeah.
us your process?
This is a little bit of the secret sauce that I discovered this through my own kind of school of hard knocks, doing a lot of things wrong for a long period of time. And when I was reinventing myself the 3rd time or really leaning more into this visibility side of things, I realized, like, what I had always done naturally were 3 things. 1, I knew the power of positioning myself as an authority, and so I was always looking for what is the platform I'm going to host? What is the platform that I need to be seen as the leader in? So, long time ago, it was hosting live events, or I used to run this monthly networking in Los Angeles. That was, like, ages ago, and then I thought, "I don't wanna do that anymore," so I said, "I need a podcast." So, I started a podcast, and, not just any old podcast, but I was like, "I'm going to have a very successful podcast," so my podcast is in the top 1.5% right now. Now, the second part of the trifecta is I know I can't do this alone. You and I both know there's a lot of power in the collaborative energy that you have with peers who serve a similar audience. And so I thought, what is the best way to start to collaborate? I can invite people onto my show. That's as a guest. That's one thing that I've always done. But now being a guest on their show is another form of collaborations. And pretty much everybody who's moving and shaking in this industry's
Has
got
a
a show,
show.
right?
Has a show.
Well, the third part of the trifecta, and this is where a lot of people miss, and I'll share an example why this is so critical, is your content. What are you sharing regularly on your primary social platforms? Here's why this is an untapped opportunity for so many people, Lindsay. And I know you know the value of this because you're really good at this. A lot of people are like, I'm just going to go right in for the show. I'm going to get other people to book me on their shows and I'm going to lean hard on that. And that's good. I want you to start there. That's an easy place to start. But you had to have at least social media presence because two things happen. One, most and I don't know if you assess like this, but when we're evaluating someone to come on my show, I'm going to look at their socials. My assistant's going to vet them and say, do they have a presence? Do they have a reach? Are they sharing the showcases they're already on? And even if you're just starting that part, if you are actively known for and recognized as an authority in something, you're posting about it. If you're not, I'm not sure that person's gonna make a good fit, so it puts a little bit of a barrier to being blocked or to being booked.
Yeah, you're not relevant also.
Right, there's no presence that you've built, there's no track record of of showcasing your expertise to your own community. Now, that's one side of it, but here's the other interesting side. When you do this regularly, you have dormant leads. You have followers who've connected with you along the way, and they probably have zero clarity about what you really do. You're not in front of them. You're not popping into their feed. And so they're ignoring you. You're invisible to them. But when you get really active and you have a authority content strategy, which is very different than how most people do social media, then what happens when you drop your showcase when you've been on this amazing show called The Millionaire Maker or whatever show, Amplify Your Success, right? Then people are gonna start paying more attention. Your buzz and momentum goes off the hook. You can drop in little nuggets of wisdom and tips and things like that. And people are more likely to see what you're posting, raise their hand, follow the breadcrumbs to your offer. So that's just the tip of the iceberg on what I see. But there's a whole little sequence of how this trifecta starts to monetize your visibility. If you're not monetizing your efforts to be visible, chances are your trifecta is broken or you're limping. One of those 3 pillars is weak and you're limping along, and there's not enough authority behind what you do to get those people to say, "I want Lindsay, I want Melanie, I want Susan, I want Jack," whatever, and so they're passing you over.
Yes.
People underestimate the value of authority positioning. And let me tell you, Lindsay, I know you know this, it is a crowded market. The noise is so high, even if it's not about your industry. There's just a lot of noise. People are posting so much about so many things. You've got to have a way to just rise above a little bit. And that's about being recognized as an authority in whatever thing you do well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. And with AI and with all the competitors and everyone's posting content and there's so much entertainment and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, people just aren't finding the time. So you have to become really relevant. Do you mind sharing with us? You brought up your authority content strategy. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, so it's very custom. I think you have to really understand what is it that your audience needs to hear from you. And so it starts with what is your thing you're known for? And you may or may not know what that is. It's amazing to me how many people have been in business for 10 years plus and they don't really know what they should be known for. And
Very
again,
good
it's just
question. It's a great
yeah,
question everyone should ask themselves. Yeah.
what are you known for? And what do you want to be known for?
Mm.
So that becomes the foundation to creating content that's very appealing to your ideal audience. And so I like to play with things like I'm really big on Facebook. Facebook's my jam. And that's, I run tests all the time. I'm always experimenting to see what works. And I find that a combination of doing a color block where you're asking like a kind of a interesting or fun question alongside with I tell long form stories. If you ever connect with me on Facebook, you'll know that and I do this on LinkedIn too, but it just seems to work better on Facebook. Like I'll tell a story about something that I'm teaching either in myself or in my clients. Almost always I get people raising their hands going like, "How do I do this, Melanie?" Right? I will share opportunities to be on an event like this. Like recently I got rebooked on one of the top 10 shows in the entrepreneurial podcast space. And I shared something about it. It was a totally casual picture of me, but I had probably 100 plus comments on there. And it's about being relatable while being authentic, but celebrating something. And inside of that, I'm telling them my process works, my friends. And
Yes.
so I'm
Yes.
teaching, I'm showcasing, I'm being relatable, I'm being a human, and I'm bringing all of that into these stories, these posts, these concepts. And so then when I have an event or I have a promotion, people are more likely to see it because A, I'm keeping my algorithm warmed up, and B, they're already curious about what's happening. And Lindsay, I have to share this with you. I might have shared this with you off behind camera a while back, but last time I taught my program, I ran a little test and I started doing this authority content very strategically rather than just haphazardly. This was 2 sessions ago, not 1 session ago. And I had people who I'd known for 15 plus years. One of them was a high school friend. Another one was a client who worked with me in 2004. Again, all people who had known me at least 15 years raised their hand and said, "How do I work with you?" And they were like 40% of the signups in my program because they started seeing my posts, right? And they'd not really been tracking that before.
And your big
So
takeaway was, of course, you went in with social media with intent and really
mhm,
testing things. What was your other takeaway from that experience?
there was 2, and I think this is worth knowing, and then not everybody's set up this way, but I so full disclosure, I divorced Facebook for 4 or 5 years. I was like, "I want nothing to do with it. I'll just share some personal stuff here and there." I didn't really and I had been attacked by somebody, a cyberbully, and it affected me to my core. I got in my head about it, and I didn't really leverage it. I was more active on Twitter and Instagram and other platforms. And then I started realizing that I was being silly and I needed to get out of my own way and lean into Facebook. And what I discovered was 2 things. One, when you have a group of people who are not just your family and friends, important part. These are
Mhm.
people I've known in the industry, and you know how to actually warm up your algorithm and get them to see what you're posting. They are actually your best leads because they have long-term trust and rapport with you.
Yes.
So, A, you have to know how to work the algorithms, but B, the people who have known you or experienced you over and over again repeatedly are already a fan. Like, they already have appreciation for what you do if they're still sticking around and paying attention. There's something there, and you've already built the relationship. Now it's the right offer at the right time.
I love that. I love that. And really, I teach the $1,000,000 Rolodex and how you should just use social media. And Facebook Personal is great for this as virtual networking. You're out there, you're touching
Mhm.
base, you're dropping content, but you're checking in with people and you are
Yep.
giving them value. And it really is one of the best relationship management like pieces of software because it also wants you to meet new people. And so, really looking at it from a micro level, the macro will take care of itself as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, and you know what else I find on the other side of it? Because I'm always paying attention to what people are doing, like, I was tracking you for all this time and would notice when you had something going on, and I have peers that I'm like, "I literally do not know what you do."
Yeah.
Because they're always posting something different, and so what I find is when you're really leaning into your unique sales advantage and you really know what you're known for and how to position that with that magnetic messaging, and you're consistent with it, those people who've been confused by what you do or maybe just weren't clear, all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, I'm putting a podcast together, you wanna come on?" Or
Yes.
they're gonna actually be more readily turning to you as the subject matter expert, as the guest expert they wanna spotlight than someone else because they already know you, but they just didn't know how to help you. They didn't know what to send referrals to you about. Can I share one more quick story on that?
Please do.
So, I was really getting some traction with this, and last year, I had been really good about posting. I was doing my whole content strategy, and I had just shared about some wins for my clients in my program. And I don't know, there's 2 or 3 big things that happened all at once that I'd shared about, and I walked into an event that I've been going to for 8 years, and all of a sudden, instead of going, "Hey, Melanie, how's it going?" People were like, "Oh my god, you're on fire. Wow, like, I didn't know you were doing A, B, and C. I have a referral for you. Hey, do you wanna come speak at my event?" Like, the whole narrative changed in the room because I had been more consistent and more relevant, and I was basically educating people that knew me, but probably weren't really very clear what I was doing because 'cause I'd been hiding out. I wasn't
Right.
being active there.
Which brings me to a question for you, which is the
Sure.
mindset piece here. Now, easy enough to say, showing up on social media, doing all the things. But when we talk about people getting in their own way, it's all up here. Can you share with me a little bit about what you know about that?
Yeah. I'll talk to people. There's some people who are interested in working with me, or they may just ask some random questions when connect with them. And oftentimes, and actually, this comes up a lot with guests on my show. And I will hear, "I wish I would have been consistently visible sooner. I wish I had more time. I wish I knew what to say. I wish I knew how to do this," right? And when I really dig underneath it, Lindsay, what I hear them saying is, "I'm scared. I'm in conflict. I'm worried what people might say or do to me if I'm more visible and I'm outside of my little comfort circle of the people that are used to hearing from me and I go bigger and I get bolder." And this is because we as human beings have this little fear center in our brain that starts to kick off saying, "No, we don't want anything to change. Things are really comfortable right now. I don't want to do something scary or big or outside my what I call my known zone." And so I actually just dropped a episode about this on my podcast this week. The 3 most common reasons talented people aren't visible and they're a best kept secret. And the number 1 is conflict. They are in conflict about what might happen if they are more visible. I literally had a woman invest $3,000 in one of my programs several years ago, Lindsay. She didn't do anything, even though we followed up with her every week. And I finally said, "What is going on?" She said, "I'm a little afraid what will happen when I turn on the visibility and I get a steady stream of new leads. I don't think I'm ready." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You've been doing this for 20 years. Of course you're ready." But she had so much conflict about the potential of what might happen when she got success that she put the brakes on everything.
What's your
And
advice for that?
first of all, sometimes it's valid because you don't have the infrastructure, or you don't have the setup, but there's resources for you. There's support. Like figure out what the real reason is and get
Yeah.
support around it. Sometimes, Lindsay, it's unresolved trauma. People have stuff that's been unresolved from childhood or earlier in their life, and you're legitimately nervous about who's gonna find you and who's gonna say what, and so that needs to get resolved. So maybe you need some therapist support or a mindset coach or something like that to work through it. And sometimes it's just literally you don't know how. And you're
Yeah.
so busy with maintaining what you have to make the decision, and every good thing starts with making a new decision. Like, what's the
I like
decision you
that. I
need to
like
make?
that.
Yeah?
Yes.
So what's the new decision today? I commit to being visible because here's the thing, if they can't hire you if they can't see you. So if you wanna grow the reach of your work, you wanna make a greater impact, you wanna make more money, you wanna get into the $1,000,000 range, you've gotta be visible. So let's figure out what's really blocking that so you can get the mindset shift, you can, get the infrastructure in place, you can get the support of knowing how, which is where my jam is, I love doing that. And you have a system in place to get that regular visibility effort going so that you're just following this routine, and I guarantee you it does require efforting in the beginning, but once that
Yes.
authority accelerates and everything flips, it all starts coming to you. I literally cannot keep up with all of the amazing stuff that comes in. I could stoke the fire a little bit, and then it's like so much
It's a
stuff
true
comes in.
investment. You invest in doing all
Yes.
this hard stuff, getting out of your own way, creating systems, and actually showing up, and you reap the benefits after you put in that
Yeah.
work.
It's true. Yeah, I know you do.
So when we look at ahead of us, the online landscape is changing. There's like a different social media. What is your prediction for like visibility in the future and what that's going to require from online
Mm.
business?
I think there's a couple things, and this ties into several places where we need to be a specialist rather than generalist. There's a lot of people who still rely on generalist type behavior, generalist messaging, generalist expertise. And I think as we look into the future and you see the narrowing of our industry, because I truly believe we're going to go through a narrowing of the number of people who do similar things as we do, because the competition's stiff. This is the place for like commitment. You got to be committed to this and you gotta stand out, and one of the ways you stand out is be known for something, a specialty, a type of result, something. You gotta be known for something, a type of client or a type of outcome, a type of process, something like that. So I think you gotta really be willing to specialize in some way, shape, or form. I think the other thing is as we continue to see the narrowing of our field, the people who are willing to play a little bolder, that are leaning into their business, that they're all in on growth, they're going to see simplify to multiply is going to pay off. I think
Mhm.
as a rule, creatives and people, I study human design. And so, for human design at all, there's a type that's a generator. They like to generate lots of energy. And when you like to do a lot of things and you're multi passionate, it's actually very overwhelming and it can exhaust not only you, but your industry. And so I think we're going to see a lot of people simplifying what they do to amplify the reach of their work in the world. And instead of having really complicated businesses, less things to do, less places you're going to focus on being visible, but really mastering that and full force mastery of that channel, full force mastery of that body of work, full force mastery of taking care of that client. So
I
I think
agree.
that's what I see.
I agree. I would agree with that. And mastery is what's going to allow you to stand up above the crowd and above the AI. Like AI can't compete with somebody who's been in an industry and had all these experiences for 20 years. So really
Yeah.
leaning into that. I also agree about that. So thank you so much, Melanie. It's been a real pleasure interviewing you on the podcast. Before I let you go, I'm going to
Thank you.
turn it over to you. Do you have anything you want the audience to know that I didn't ask you? And do you have anywhere that we can go to find out more about you?
Let me first share a resource, and then I'll let that percolate in the back of my mind for a minute. Again, you can find me on any social media platform, Coach Melanie Benson usually. And what I would suggest you do is a lot of times people are like, I love this idea of $1 million visibility. How do I start generating that? People have questions about that. They want to know how to put all the puzzle pieces together. If you go to melaniebenson.com/, Millionaire Maker. So just remember the name of this podcast. So melaniebenson.com/millionaire maker. You can download a guide I put together. It's absolutely free. It's my gift to you. It'll help you put all those 7 puzzle pieces together and really understand what this thing is that I learned how to do that I teach my clients. And there's a little training that goes with it that you'll want to watch for that'll help you with like, where are the things I'm strong at and where do I maybe really need to focus so that I can start generating that $1 million visibility and make a greater impact in the world. I think the thing I will leave everybody with is sometimes people are like, Melanie, I'm not great at doing things consistently, or I'm not really great at, like, I don't know what to say. And there's all these things like, yes, but I know I should be more visible. But again, I'll just come back to this saying that I have. If they can't see you, they can't choose you. They can't be the person who says, "Hey, how can you help me?" And the only way to be seen is to really get that message crystal clear and then be seen where your ideal clients and your peers are looking for somebody to plug the hole for them. And I actually had so much fun with this, Lindsay. Absolutely love every time I get to have these amazing conversations with my friends like Lindsay. I love every time somebody knocks on my email or they book a session or whatever, and they're like, "I heard you on The Millionaire Maker, or I heard you on this show or that show." And it's because I am like, I'm committed. I made a decision. I'm committed. This year alone, I'm going to impact the lives of 10,000 people, experts who are a best kept secret. And I'm gonna I am on a mission. So plug into something bigger, plug into something bolder, and watch how your life shifts to make that become real.
I love that. I love that. You are the one that's patting down your dreams. Like you're the
Yep.
only one who's saying, I'm not good enough or I can't do that. So make big dreams. I love that, Melanie. I love 10,000 people. I fully support you in that mission. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. It's been really great talking with you.
Thank you. You too.
Well, there you have it, folks. Another really awesome episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. I want to thank everybody who has left a review for the Millionaire Maker Show. I am here to tell you like it is. This is how you build an online business. If you have enough self-control and self-discipline and you follow the steps that we outline in the Millionaire Maker funnel, you will be on your way to a profitable online business that will actually afford you more time, more money, more freedom, and more impact. That is what we do right here on the show. And I try to really get through all of the myriad of lies and wishful thinking that people have fed you about what it takes to build an online business. And that's exactly the questions I'm answering here on the Millionaire Maker Show. So for everybody who has left a review for the show, we couldn't do it without you. If you do have takeaways from the show and you find it useful, I would ask you to please leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. It does so much good for the show and really allowing us to continue to bring you the truth about what it takes to scale an online business in 2024 and beyond. Don't forget my upcoming masterclass, The Social Media Sales Machine. You're going to head over to contentthatconverts.me/machine to get your tickets. Make sure you head over there, and I'll see you next time on The Millionaire Maker Show. Cheers to you and your success.
Thank you for listening to the Millionaire Maker Show with master business coach and creator of the Millionaire Maker coaching funnel, Lindsey Anderson. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time.